What is the first video game you think of when I say the word masterpiece? I feel like when I ask that question, most people would just think of their favorite game and use that as their answer. So for me, that game would be Pokemon Legends Arceus. However, I don't think that's always the case, because whilst I love Legends Arceus, there are some obvious flaws in the game that could ruin the experience for players who wanted to do these things that are flawed. So I think a game that deserves the title of masterpiece should be a game that anyone can enjoy no matter what they want from a game. This is why my answer to the original question isn't Pokemon Legends Arceus, but it is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Okay, now that I've stated what game I think deserves the title of masterpiece, let's look at some other games and why I think they don't deserve the title of masterpiece. So let me just hop on Steam. Guess I'll choose a genre. RPG, sure. I don't think I've played any of these. Oh, Elden Ring. Good old Elden Ring. Anyways, Elden Ring is a great game, but here the question isn't whether it's a good game, but if it's accessible for anyone to play. The answer to that question is no. You see, the Souls series of games have their own DNA, which basically makes them really freaking hard. This means that if a new player were to pick up Elden Ring, it would probably end up something like this. Remember, this is actually happening to people, and Elden Ring is said to be one of the easiest Souls games. The difficulty of these games is why so many people hate them. Not because the games are bad, but because the players have a massive
skill issue.
This also scares away new players who want to start playing the Souls games, but don't want to have to deal with the difficulty. An opinion that often goes around in the Souls community is that these games are for pro gamers only, and new players should stay away from them. Whilst I don't completely agree with that statement, sometimes it is true that new players won't be able to enjoy these games. Alright, let's pick another game. Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime is a Metroidvania. If you don't know what a Metroidvania is, it's a genre of games inspired by the Metroid and Castlevania games, as the name suggests. These games often require you to find what I call a key, and then backtrack your way to a lock. Most of the time, these keys are new abilities letting you traverse the game in new ways. The reason why I think Metroid Prime 1 shouldn't be considered a masterpiece is because a lot of players scratch their head when they find a new ability, wondering where they need to use it. Sure, the developers of the game can use game design strategies to make players remember, but casual players who only play once in a while won't be able to remember these due to the time they spent not playing the game. This is obviously a problem, as if a player doesn't know where to go, they may not want to look at every nook and cranny of the map in hopes that they find where to progress. I think Metroidvanias should hit this middle point, where the player does get confused on where to go every now and then, but still should be making steady progress. An example of this middle point could be Hollow Knight, where there are multiple paths, making the player more likely to end up in the right place. Another example are the Ori games, which tell the player exactly where to go, but don't tell them what to do once they've gotten there. So, for the first two examples, I've really only talked about situations where the player gets stuck. But there are situations where the player doesn't like the game for other reasons. Take No Man's Sky for example. Whilst a lot of people enjoyed this game, I didn't, because it missed a mark on a few things and made me not like it. Don't get me wrong, I do like open world games. I mean, I even said Tears of the Kingdom was a masterpiece at the very start of the video. However, I don't like No Man's Sky, as the game forces me to do too many things that I don't want to do. You see, the game is a survival game. You will lose things like oxygen and need to mine resources to get more. It doesn't end there though. once you've inevitably gotten your oxygen, your gun may run out of power, and you'll need to get more resources for that. You thought that was enough, but it still doesn't end there. For some reason, the developers of the game decided to put the main character on life support, so you'll have to get more resources.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I don't like this constant need to get more resources, as it means that when I want to do tasks, I get distracted because I'm running low on materials. This makes the gameplay feel really slow and not worth my time, making me not want to play the game. It's kind of sad too, because I feel like I would have liked No Man's Sky if there wasn't any tasks, and the game was centered around gathering materials so you can live on the planets, instead of flying to random planets for seemingly no reason. I kind of wish it was more like Minecraft almost. Now you may be thinking, all of these things that you pointed out are only there due to the genre of game having that effect on the game, which is a fair point, but I feel like if Tears of the Kingdom can take the flaws of its genre and basically just remove them, why can't the other games do this? What do I mean by this? Well, open world games are known for their exploration. However, sometimes the games have their exploration trivialized due to there being too many map markers on the map, incentivizing the players not to explore. Tears of the Kingdom fixes this problem by distracting the player as they're on their way to a map marker. It's almost impossible not to find something new whilst playing this game unless you've literally found everything. Tears of the Kingdom also improves on its predecessor, Breath of the Wild, by fixing how weapon durability works with the new fuse ability. Look, it's okay if a game needs to do something that some players may not like if it just has to. So you could argue that Elden Ring's difficulty was intended to be the way that it was by the developers, and that's fine. The game developers should do what they think is best for the game. However, sometimes there are ways to fix these problems, as I showed with Tears of the Kingdom. The developers of Elden Ring are at a disadvantage here, as there is no way to fix the difficulty problem without ruining the experience. So unless FromSoft finds a way to figure out the difficulty problem without ruining the experience, then their games will struggle to appeal to everyone. And it's not that I just don't like their games. I mean, Elden Ring is a top 10 game of all time for me. I'm just saying that not everyone can enjoy these games. If you still don't know what I mean, take Metroid Dread for example. As I said with Metroid Prime 1, Metroidvanias often make the player confused on where to go. Metroid Dread fixes these problems by tricking the player into finding a lock after they find a key. The game designers do this by using a few different techniques. First, they have the point of no return. This technique stops the player from going back to an area they've left by guarding it off. Often, the game will make this area inaccessible to the player until they find a new ability, at which point they can go back. Secondly, there is the method of cookie crumbing. This method is where the game designers put a power-up in the direction where the player needs to go next. And finally, all the keys in the game are put right next to the locks, meaning the player can easily find the lock as they're exploring the area they are in. This also helps the player remember where the lock is, as they would have found it not too long ago. With all these game design techniques, Mercury Steam and Nintendo are able to guide the player in the right direction while still keeping the non-linear structure of a Metroidvania. Basically, the message I'm trying to convey with this video is that for a game to have the title of Masterpiece, it has to fix the problems that previous games in the genre have created without ruining the experience of the genre.